Good afternoon. Welcome to our regarding the Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program and the application process that goes along with it. It's presented by the College of Graduate Studies. Throughout this workshop, you will hear the term CDIP when referencing the Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program. We're glad you could join us today. This workshop is being recorded. Dr. Jeffrey Honda is the Associate Dean of Graduate Programs for the College of Graduate Studies and is our campus coordinator for the CDIP program, and he will be presenting today. My name is Cheryl Cowan, Senior Associate for Graduate Project Development in the Dean's Office of the College of Graduate Studies. I will be assisting Dr. Honda today. That brings us to a couple of housekeeping details. Please make sure you use phones and pose any questions you have for Dr. Honda in the Zoom chat feature. I will monitor the chat and pose your questions throughout the presentation. So let's get started. Welcome, Dr. Honda.
Thank you, Cheryl, and welcome everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'd like to keep this informal. I want it to be interactive, and I hope you get a lot of information out of this. So please use the chat feature if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to address those as we go along throughout the presentation. As far as the way the presentation is set up, I'm going to begin with a program overview, continue on with tips on how you can become selected as a fellow, the application process itself, and then we'll end up with any other questions that you might have regarding the program. So let's get started. As Cheryl said, this is the Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program. CDIP is what we call it for short, and I'll start off by essentially addressing this first question. What is the CDIP program? Well, CDIP seeks to build a diverse CSU faculty recruitment pool. In case you don't know, the California State University system, it's the largest four-year public university system in the country. So it's a very, very large university. We hope through this program to connect with underrepresented students who are in doctoral programs who want to become part of the CSU professoriate. The CDIP program provides mentoring and resources to assist in applying to CSU faculty jobs. I put down here in this other bullet, major university training is not congruent with CSU faculty application. What this means is, and why the CDIP program is so great if you're thinking of becoming a CSU faculty member, is as you're going through your doctoral program, and if you're in a doctoral program right now, you're really working towards honing in on your craft in your field of specialization. You're learning how to do research, how to do it independently. So you're really focused on your program of study and doing your research. What you may not learn in a lot of these major universities as you're going through your doctoral program, and I can use UCLA, Berkeley, Rutgers University, LSU, all of these major universities really focus on the research portion of your doctoral career. What many don't focus on are things that really the CSU is looking for in faculty, and that's really service towards the institution. So we place a high premium on university service. There is a research component, but we help define what research means in the context of the CSU. So that's very helpful as well, and teaching. Although students, when they're graduate students in doctoral program and they're doing TA work, they're not getting, I think, the full mentorship that would be available if you were to essentially go into the CDIP program. So as you're going through your doctoral program, if you're in the CDIP program, you're kind of going through a parallel training that essentially is moving you towards being an effective CSU faculty mentor. So I hope that helps kind of define what CDIP does in a little bit more detail. The other thing is that if you are a lecturer in the CSU, we really are looking forward to lecturers who are in doctoral programs to apply to this program. And in fact, 25% of the CDIP awards are set aside for CSU lecturers. So we are actively recruiting for CSU lecturers as well. So how can CDIP help you succeed? There are really three main points here. The first is financial support. There's a $30,000 forgivable loan that can be provided throughout your doctoral study. And the good thing is that this loan can be forgivable. So it's forgivable at a rate of 20% each year if you're a full-time faculty member or and that could be either on the tenure track or even as a lecturer. So that means after 5 years, if you're teaching full-time, your loan can be completely forgiven. So that's really one thing that's very attractive. But by and large, when you talk to most of the students that have gone through the program, what they're really looking for is this mentorship with a CSU faculty mentor. So the mentor really is going to support professional development. And again, what I call this trinity of CSU teaching. It's being a faculty member. It's teaching, it's research, and it's service. So that mentorship while you are in your doctoral program is going to be invaluable. They will also provide advice and guidance to help enhance the potential for employment in a CSU tenure track faculty position. So again, this mentorship is a really important piece. The third piece is professional development. And when you are a CDIP fellow, you are eligible for a number of mini grants and travel grants throughout your doctoral career. And a lot of these grants can go towards your faculty mentor as well. So you can use these fundings for collaborative work, travel to professional meetings, and whatnot. There's also a few other perks, for example, membership for the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity, as well as a competitive dissertation fellowship grant to support completion of your dissertation of up to $5,000. And here there's only 10 that are provided. Throughout this presentation, I've highlighted a lot of things in blue, and those are links to more specific information. So if you click on this link below, it'll direct you to the CSU information regarding the CDIP program. So I encourage you to click that when you have a chance. Okay. As far as eligibility is concerned, I believe I had a couple of questions that asked about part-time or full-time enrollment. And I was mistaken in saying that you could be part-time, but I was wrong. You have to be a full-time doctoral student enrolled in an accredited program in the United States. Or you can be an undergraduate and master's level graduate student who is applying to an accredited doctoral program for the fall of 2023. Okay, so as long as you're in a doctoral program at the beginning of the fall semester of next year, you'll be eligible for a CDIP. U.S. citizenship is not required, but applicants must be eligible to work in the U.S. Lecturers who are enrolled full-time in a doctoral program are eligible and encouraged to apply. I gave you that 25% number set aside for these fellowships in the previous slide. So again, we are really looking for lecturers who are interested in becoming tenure track faculty members. The applicant does not have to be a CSU student, but must have a CSU faculty mentor on the tenure track. This is important. It's interesting in that this really isn't a barrier, because I believe we had 4 awardees last year, and out of those 4, I think 3 of those CDIP fellows came from different universities. So something to think about. Application components. So the applicants must apply online. Oh, there's something I missed. This should be 3/17/2023. I'll have to make that change. It is updated in following slides, but you have to have your application filed and clicked into InfoReady by March 17th. You must complete the following campus deadlines for timely review of the application. These are the components that you need to submit with your application. There's the CDIP student application form, which is essentially CSU. It's online CSU in InfoReady. So you essentially click that when we give you a link, and you fill out all of the information. And I'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the presentation. a curriculum vitae, 4 pages maximum, statement of qualifications and motivations. This is your kind of your personal statement, which should be no longer than 3 pages. A collaborative plan of support, co-constructed with your CSU faculty mentor, who must be tenure track. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more as well. 2 letters of recommendation, one of which must be from your faculty mentor, and also a recent CSU faculty position announcement in the applicant's general field. Okay. There's another link down here that provides details and sample works from CSU. Essentially, it shows the application process in a little bit more detail. But it's critical that when you begin to put your application together, that you essentially check all of these off and make sure that this is part of your application packet.
Jeff, let me just burst in here a little bit.
Mhm.
Kavina wanted to know regarding eligibility. Does that include part-time temporary faculty?
Part-time temporary, yes. If you're part-time temporary faculty and you're in a doctoral program, but you're in the doctoral program full-time, then yes, you are eligible. So you don't need to be a 1.0.
So the only additional question that I have with that is I'm actually in my 3rd year, scheduled to graduate in spring, but we'll probably be pushing that to fall. So because I'm kind of at the tail end, would that disqualify me or?
It would not disqualify you, no, because you would still be in your doctoral program for that fall semester. So you would technically still be eligible to apply.
Okay, and obviously, I guess it's safe to assume that I would only be subject to the benefits for that one semester, not, so in terms of financial, not the 30,000, but possibly the 10,000.
Yes, right,
okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
But I mean, again, a lot of our applicants do take advantage of that student that loan because it is forgivable. What will be, I think, very helpful for you, Kavina, is when you get that collaborative program of study. And that is really, really what is helpful for students that want to become part of the CSU faculty.
That's what seems even more valuable than
yes.
the loan.
I mean, the students that I've talked to and the feedback that we've gotten is always working with the faculty mentor is the best, because it just it gives you an appreciation for what it is like to be a tenure track faculty member. Now, I think you're a lecturer, right, Kavina?
Yes.
Yeah, but you know, there are
part-time. Yeah, part-time.
Yeah, there are certain things that when you develop this mentorship that you're going to learn that is beyond just being a lecturer. So
so wish I had found this program 2 years ago.
Or
that it existed 2 years ago.
It's been in existence for a while. I'm sorry we missed you on our messaging, but better late than never.
True. Thank you.
Okay.
A couple of other questions were posed. Sonia is a doctoral student at San Jose State, and she's in the Odd D program. Does she need to find a mentor within her Odd D program?
No, not necessarily. It's always helpful because, you know, you share that kind of professional type of mentoring that can go on, but really what you're going to look for is somebody that you can have a really good mentor-mentee relationship when it comes to collaboration. And well, what is teaching like here at CSU? What's the service like? You know, what's the research expectations? So that, I think, is more critical. I would rather you have a mentor that you're going to work really, really close with, that you might not, you know, overlap as much professionally in your doctoral program, than being with somebody that's, you know, in the same kind of professional area that you don't have quite as close an association with. Does that answer that question?
Hi, this is Sonia. Yes, it does answer my question. And actually, just to expand on it a little bit, now, I guess what I really wanted to ask was if I need to find the mentor myself, or if you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
help with that.
No,
So I
well,
would
I
just
mean,
email.
yeah, I'll give you some hints in a bit. So hold on, Sonia. And if I don't
Okay,
answer
great.
that
Thank
specific
you.
question, then we'll come back to it. So I see Joseph has a question. Joseph.
Yes, Dr. Honda, first of all, thank you so much presenting on this very important opportunity. I think it's now a matter of terminology because you already responded to part-time. If somebody is labeled as an adjunct professor or adjunct faculty, and let's say the teaching load is 0.2 or 0.4, something fluctuating between 0.2 and 0.4. Is this category is also eligible for?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, lectures, we like I said, we set aside 25% of these fellowships for lectures, but keep in mind, any student who is in a doctoral program, as long as you're in a doctoral program, you can apply. I think the fact that, Joseph, that you're at a low percentage, you're still part-time lecturer. So yes, right.
Really.
You don't have to be full-time. You don't have to be 0.5, 0.2. If you're teaching one class, you're a part-time lecturer. You're a lecturer. So you would definitely fall under that category. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And regardless whether you are a doctorate student here at SJSU or elsewhere.
Elsewhere, as long as it's in an accredited U.S. institution.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last question I want to, Jeff, so that you can move on, is someone asked if they needed to already be accepted into a master's or doctorate program at this time.
Well, I mean, the master's program, this is a doctoral thing. So if you've been accepted into a doctoral program at this time, then yes, you're eligible to apply.
But also, you don't have to be, you can be applying. You need to be in a position that you will be starting. My understanding is that you will be starting your doctoral program in the fall of 2023.
That is correct. If you're not in a doctoral program, but you're applying and you're looking to get in by fall 2023, you can parallel apply, right? You can apply for the CDIP and you can apply for your doctoral program. Just as long as you have an admission and an acceptance by fall 2023 in your doctoral program.
I think that's it for now.
Okay, great. Then I'll keep moving along. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the CSU faculty member because this is really, really critical to the success of you actually being awarded one of these. So the CDIP faculty mentor's role, really the most important thing is to help develop what we call this collaborative plan of support. This is key to essentially your application, and it has to be developed jointly by the mentee or the fellow and the mentor. And it really is kind of a roadmap of what essentially your course of study or your plan is as you're going through the CDIP program. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a sec, but I also wanted to touch upon what the mentor is also responsible for, or what you should be thinking about when you're looking for a mentor. You should be able to develop a relationship that demonstrates interpersonal trust and communication with the mentee. And that really, if you can bring that out in your application, you're going to have a much, much stronger, I think, application moving forward. The other thing is the mentor should openly share their own academic journey, their challenges in navigating work-life balance. That's a huge thing. What the tenure process is and shared governance. So it's important that if you get a mentor, it's just not a rubber stamp or a name only. It's somebody that you really are going to have this intimate relationship where particularly bullet points number 2 and 3 come into play. Now, if you can essentially translate those things onto your application, as I said, you're going to have a much, much stronger proposal going forward. Okay. And again, mentors need not necessarily be from the fellows field of study. That was a question that was kind of asked already. Okay. So that's essentially the mentor's role.
So I'm sorry, really quick, can I ask, not so much the field of study, but do they have to work within the CSU system, or can they be from a community college?
No. They have to be CSU.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So how to find a CDIP mentor? I think this was one of the questions as well. So if you're a current or former CSU student, some of the things that I would think about is looking for or contacting your undergraduate advisor and seeing if they're interested in serving as a mentor. If you're in a master's program right now, I find that a lot of master's students who go into doctoral programs, the real kind of the natural progression is to ask your thesis advisor or your research mentor to also essentially help you on this path towards becoming a CSU professor. In most cases, they'll be happy to do so. A faculty member who does the kind of research you want to pursue in your doctoral program, again, if it's not an exact fit, you can maybe talk to the department chair you teach in. You can ask a tenure track faculty member in your discipline. So I find that that's very common as well. A lot of students, they will look for research interests on websites and make contact that way. If you have no ties with anyone on a CSU campus, I would, you could essentially look for research expertise at a faculty member at any of the 23 campuses and try to, contact them via that way, or you can reach out to their CDIP coordinator. So all 23 campuses, I believe, have a CDIP coordinator, just like, they have someone like me at different campuses. So you could reach out to them and ask for assistance, and they'll probably be able to help you there. I've had a few applicants already contact me and ask me, how do I do this? Last year, like I said, when we had 3 people that were from outside of the CSU, they made contact with me, and I met with them one-on-one, and we went over kind of some faculty that might be a good fit, and they all found somebody. So it worked out really well. So CDIP coordinators can be very helpful. Look at the faculty web pages and what type of research they're doing, and make contact with them as well. Okay. Let's see. Fellow selection. Okay, so how essentially are fellows selected, and what are some tips to optimizing your application when you put this in? So the committee reviews these, I believe, in April, and the decisions are given in May, but there are specific things that the committee is looking for, and actually they have checklists, and we can share that with you. I think I have a link for that, but really there are 4 kind of broad points that they're looking at. They're looking for fellows who have rich and diverse backgrounds, who demonstrate a trajectory that resonates with the CSU mission, endorses the CSU mission, and promotes inquiry, social justice, and inclusiveness. So really, as you're kind of putting your application together, check out the CSU information website, their homepage. They talk about their mission, and pay attention to what their focus is and what their mission statement is, and how you fit to meeting that and fulfilling that mission. One of the things that the CSU is looking at, again, as part of their checklist, is the potential for mentorship by a CSU faculty mentor. Again, this is why I stress that it's very important that you develop a strong relationship with your mentor, and it hopefully shines through as you essentially put your application in. And this is going to be best expressed in your mentor's letter of recommendation and collaborative plan of support. So when you find a mentor, you should really sit down and kind of go over a lot of what we're discussing on this presentation. In fact, you might want to just link this and work through this with your mentor and really go through some of these bullet points. So for example, How familiar is the CSU faculty mentor with the mentee's professional goals? Is the CSU faculty mentor a good fit for the applicant's background and professional goals? Is there a substantive plan for regular communication between the mentor and mentee? Is there evidence of the CSU faculty mentor's interest or experience in mentoring doctoral students? So these are all important points that should be touched upon as you're crafting this CPS. Now, new for this year is the requirement that CDIP mentors must include a short paragraph of why they think that their mentee would be a great fit for the program inside of this collaborative plan of support. So somewhere in the CPS, they have to essentially craft this short paragraph. So when you're putting your CPS together, make sure that this paragraph is part of the CPS. Now, your mentor is also going to be drafting your letter of recommendation. So, you can essentially put that statement from the letter of recommendation into your CPS, but there does have to be some language in there that I've put in bold. And again, this is new for this particular application cycle. Okay, so the other thing that the committee is looking at is potential for a successful collaboration between the applicant and the mentor. So they're not only looking at, oh, do you have a good mentor? Do you have a mentor in place? But this collaboration. And really, again, this is based on how well that CPS is put together. Is there a good plan to develop pedagogical knowledge, skills, and experience as a doctoral student? Does the CPS include thorough plans on collaborative research or publications? Does the CPS include plans for professional activities, such as joint conference presentations and or networking opportunities? Now I got here review samples. And again, I have a link. So this links to samples. So it gives you essentially templates and types of things that you should be thinking about when you're developing your CPS.
Let me interrupt just
Sure.
a little bit here. And that is that those samples, the paragraph having to do with your suitability as a candidate for CDIP is not included because those are templates from last year. This is a new requirement. So you still want to have the collaborative. You really need to use the format that they provide, that the Chancellor's Office has on their website, which is where this link will go to. But then have your mentor add a paragraph at the bottom that is this added, why you would be great for the program.
A lot of, thanks, Cheryl. A lot of what are on these samples are kind of outlined here, but I just wanted to go over these very briefly. What we find most commonly is collaborative syllabus development and teaching development, collaborative research projects and publications, collaborative grant proposals, joint participation in professional seminars and meetings, joint presentations in professional forums, involvement in campus committees and meetings, development of a competitive CV for faculty positions. Notice that all of these action verbs are either collaborative or joint or involvement. So your mentor really should demonstrate a lot of this collaborative joint type of interactive work, right? So the mentor's involvement is critical for this particular program, all right? The committee will also be evaluating academic achievement and potential. And a lot of the things that I've put on this slide really should be highlighted in your CV so that they're kind of clear and obvious when they're looking at your CV. So these bullet points include academic qualifications. Have you gone through some of these CSU sponsored programs like Mark McNair, Sally Casanova, Build, any other type of honors programs? These will really help, I think, if you're, for example, in any of these, they'll help your application significantly. A lot of these are are research and mentor based. And so they already give you a little bit of experience and background in working with the mentor. Secondly, does the applicant have strong scholarly accomplishments? Presentation experience and publications are very important. Does the applicant have strong letters of recommendation? I think that just goes without saying. You don't want a letter that doesn't speak to a lot of what I'm covering in this presentation. It should be personal and it should be applied directly to you as the applicant for this specific CDIP program. Okay. Excuse me. Does the applicant and mentor speak about research interests? Are research plans clear and defined? So this is kind of hard, I think, if you are, for example, applying into a doctoral program right now. It's much easier. For example, if you're, if you're in your second or third year, because you know exactly what you're doing and what you have to accomplish. But it helps to have a clear and defined plan of research when you're developing your application. Okay, so again, a lot of this stuff you should put on your CV. I wouldn't waste my time too much in your statement, because that has to address other things. If you have a well-organized and a good CV, this should shine through. Shabazz, you have a question?
Hey, Jeffrey, I just have a trivial question. Will we be able to access the slides after this session is done? Because this will be really helpful for reference. Thank you. Thank you.
I believe Cheryl will put this up on the CDIP website after we're done.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So the other thing is the potential to become a CSU professor. I think this goes without saying. This is really something that you need to put in your qualification and motivation statement. And it should be, it should shine in your collaborative plan of support as well. I think that's where you can highlight, the fact that you want to become a CSU professor. Applicants must highlight their interest in teaching at a CSU. How has an education at CSU impacted yourself? Does the applicant understand the CSU mission? Does the applicant have an interest and a commitment to teaching a diverse student population and mentoring students? We need to highlight this diversity issue. As I said, the CSU is a huge university. It's very large and extremely diverse, and we pride ourselves in really meeting that mission of teaching a diverse student population. Okay. Does the applicant have the potential to be an academic leader? Interest in governance, interest in networking and leadership, productive scholarship. So these are some of the things that you should touch on, when you're writing or thinking about writing your motivation statement. They'll be looking at that. The other thing they'll be looking at is a connection to the CSU and a passion for the CSU student body. Again, these points should be strongly indicated in your personal statement, your CV, and your letters of recommendation. So for example, you should be thinking about, is there a connection to the CSU? Do you have teaching experience at the CSU as a lecturer or a TA? That should be brought to the fore. Research collaboration with CSU faculty. Are you a CSU student or an alumni? Is there evidence of teaching and serving a diverse student population? For us lecturers here, I'm sure you can draw that out. For non-CSU applicants, if you're not part of the CSU, do you have a knowledge of the CSU mission? Do you know what our demographics are? Do you know what our priorities are? Do you know the role of preparing California's workplace? All of this stuff, for any of you that are interested, can be found on the CSU website. It has all of this information with respect to demographics, priorities, to having data on preparing California's workforce. It has all of that. So I would, again, suggest looking at the CSU's website. It has all of that stuff as it relates to mission and other data. Okay, another thing that they'll be looking at is the program quality. And by program quality, I mean the quality of the doctoral program that you are in. So they will be evaluating the applicant's doctoral program and how it will prepare them to be competitive in a CSU applicant pool. For example, would a CSU search committee hire them from a degree from this particular institution? Is the institution recognized for preparing future faculty? And this third one I want to spend a little bit of time on. Will it adequately prepare the student for a tenure track faculty position? This is of special concern for what we call PhD doctoral programs. For example, the EDD, the DNP, Doctor of Physical Therapy, PsyD, and other programs, as well as online programs. Now, professional programs often have a different mission than what the CSU is looking for with respect to CDIP. EDD, for example, and DNP, typically they're professional doctorates. So they're, for example, EDD usually are going into fields of education. They're not really when you get an EDD, you're not really looking to go into the professoriate as much as you might be going into a position at a community college or a principal position at a school. Similarly with DNPs, you might be working in a hospital or something. So it's very important if you're any of these professional programs, when you apply and you're in the EDD or DNP, for example, the doctoral program's mission must explicitly include preparation and training for future university faculty members. Because what the committee is going to do is they see a professional doctoral program is they're going to look at essentially the doctoral program's institution and what their mission statement is. And they'll be looking specifically that says that their mission is to prepare future faculty members to teach at the university level. Okay, so that's really critical for professional programs. And, you know, the DNP program, for example, is very, very successful, particularly from students that are coming from our own college or our own university because of the demand. And I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So program quality is important. You know, make sure if you're in a professional doctoral program that you essentially are outlining that the mission does meet future training for university faculty members. That's very important. Disciplinary is a priority. And here, this is why we ask you to attach a recent CSU faculty position announcement in your field. The committee evaluates current and future faculty hirings. And essentially, the committee will have access to data about the number of applicants for a particular faculty position openings at our CSU campuses. And so what they'll be essentially looking at is the applicant's doctoral study in the field where shortages are predicted. Now, I just talked about the DNP program. They are always looking at this point, particularly post-COVID, because there's a nursing shortage. You know, so they're looking for essentially students in the DNP program that might want to become faculty members. Okay. Is there evidence of position openings in the applicant's field of study? Again, they'll be looking at certain data elements to determine that. So this is one thing that you'll have to do. What I recommend, I get a lot of questions on where do I find these faculty position announcements? You can find them in a number of places. I would suggest going to the human resources section for all of our campuses because they always list tenure and tenure track faculty positions. There are certain education, I think Chronicles of Higher Ed has, for example, faculty listings and CSU posts in those. Jobs Indeed, I think, has special categories for faculty as well. So those are areas that you can look for. Don't forget to find something that has a CSU faculty list posting for a job. That's one of the critical elements. 2 letters of recommendation. They changed the requirement this year to 2 letters instead of 3. So we used to require 3 letters. So this year it's only 2. And again, one of these has to be from your mentor. And you should also seek the second letter from someone who can demonstrate that they know you well and you have great promise as a potential CSU faculty member. Okay. And again, I went over these bullet points already, but again, the letters that your recommenders should be posting, the letters that they post should have this information in here. Okay. Okay, the application process. It's pretty straightforward. The first thing you should do is review the CDIP information on our website and the CSU websites. They're highlighted in blue, so they are linked. You should work with your mentor as soon as possible and begin talking about how you're going to do your collaborative plan of study, what the letters of recommendation are going to require, and thinking about putting all of your application components together. Once you do that, you should contact me because I'm the CDIP campus coordinator, and you should do this formally prior to January 31st, 2023, because that is what we call our internal university deadline. So we want to essentially get all of the applications to us by this deadline, so I can review your materials and provide feedback on it. And once I do that, I will essentially give you a link to InfoReady so that you can essentially apply on the CSU site. Now, the other thing that we'd like you to do is fill out this CDIP information form. That is our internal document, which provides all the information that'll help me help you with your revisions. Okay, so make sure you fill that out. Again, the CDIP information form is our internal form. And we have this January 31st deadline. We want to hold that deadline, but that doesn't mean you can contact me before January 31st. January 31st, 2023 sounds like it's a long ways away, but believe me, it's going to be here before you know it. So I recommend that you get items 1 and 2 taken care of, but you can essentially talk to me anytime. All right. If you have questions, feel free to email me. I can set up a Zoom with you, and we can have individual meetings. I've got no problem doing this. I did this a lot last year, and I've met some folks already for this application process as well. Okay. So again, what I plan on doing is having everything in from you, this application packet, and again, part of it is going to be on the CDIP information form. Some of it is going to be on Word documents that you're going to put together and send to me. And we'll look at this. I'll give you some feedback, and then I will give you an InfoReady link that you'll essentially click, and you can begin the InfoReady application process, because InfoReady will set up an account for you. So when you get this link, you'll click on it. You'll begin putting things in, and then you make sure that you save it, okay? This will allow you to continue working on your application. So you get your application together, you save it, you can come back, you can keep working on it. When you feel like you've got your application to where you want it, then you hit submit. But when you hit submit, that's it. You can't get it back, okay? So make sure before you hit that submit button that essentially it is really good to go. Okay. Now, the other thing is that you have to submit by March 17th. There's no exceptions. Everything has to be in by March 17th. This includes the reference letters from your mentor and your second recommender. Okay. So what I would suggest is, after January 31st, when I give you that info link and you create your InfoReady account, you save it, but you can also send a letter. When you save it, apparently this prompt is going to come up, and I haven't seen this, but when you save it, you'll have the opportunity to essentially click this button that says Send Reference Letter Request. I would do that as soon as you are able to. This will allow your recommender time to essentially upload your letter, okay? When you hit submit, if you want to hit submit before March 17th, that's fine. And what it'll do is it'll automatically send a link to your reviewers and ask them to essentially upload your letter. But again, it's important that everything, including the reference letters, be submitted by March 17th. Okay, that is the absolute deadline. Okay. Additional information. Oh, this is important. You must submit to the campus where your CDIP faculty mentor is employed. Each campus has different deadlines, so please check with your respective campus. So although you're listening to my presentation today, if you decide to do a CDIP application and your faculty mentor is housed at San Francisco State University, you have to go through their CDIP program and their campus requirements. Okay, East Bay, if you go there, you're going to have to go through their essentially their portal, not San Jose State's. Okay, so that's very important. You should not submit your application to the Chancellor's office without CGS approval. That's why we want you to submit your applications to me by that January 31st deadline first, and then you'll get your essentially your link for InfoReady. CGS is always willing to answer your questions, so feel free to contact myself or Cheryl. Cheryl's link information is here as well. And as I said, CDIP Fellow Awards will be announced in May. So with that, I think I'm going to conclude our presentation, and I'll end with any questions. I'm going to stop sharing. And
I do have one question.